right, my friends, welcome back to the greatest bands in every subgenre of rock and metal, in which I will tell you the greatest bands in every single subgenre of rock and metal. We got through the top 475 genres last time, and so in this video, I will try to get through genres number 476 through 650. That's my goal. I'm going to try to cover a good solid 175 genres today, because as you can see from this chart here, the amount of genres is basically infinite. And if there's one thing that you guys love, it's arguing about what genre influenced the other one and what came first, and does this band belong in this genre or not? You guys love it. And I'm a man of the people, so I'm here to give you more of what you want, which is pedantically arguing about genres, and that's what we're going to do today. And also, I wanted to mention something new that I'm doing, which is a YouTube coaching program. If you're an individual creator or you're a company, really anybody that wants to grow on YouTube, this is for you. Basically, this is a way to download everything that I have learned about YouTube over the past 7 years from my brain into yours. There's a pretty common set of challenges that pretty much everybody runs into on YouTube. I've run into pretty much all of them, and with this coaching program, I can help you get past those a lot faster than I did figuring it out on my own. For example, in my opinion, the single most important thing for any channel is figuring out the right niche for your content. Like, what should you focus on and how do you talk about it? For example, for me on this channel, once I found that, I went from getting, a couple hundred views a video to tens of thousands of views per video, literally almost overnight. You can see it right here. And also the right approach to things like titles and thumbnails and how to structure your videos to keep people's attention. All that stuff that took me years to figure out on my own through trial and error. I just want to help you speed run all of that. I am super excited about this, and I'm going to be putting a lot of time and energy into it over the course of the year. And if you want to find out more about it, you can just hit the link in the description of this video. First up, we have deathcore, a false metal genre. And I'm not even joking about that. You remember back in the day, everybody would say, that deathcore wasn't real metal, right? And they're right. It's not real metal. It's false metal. I love deathcore, and I love it specifically because it is false metal. It kind of sounds like death metal, but it's much more like the vibe, at least back then, was much more like, it was core kids, not metal guys. You know what I mean? The people in these bands didn't know who fucking Decrepit Birth was. You know what I mean? And that's partly why I liked it. There are a ton of great deathcore bands, lots of them. I could list off 20 fantastic deathcore bands that I love, but to me, it is very, very obvious who the choice is. It's a dad talking about his high school music. Man, I wish I was in high school when this came out. Sadly, I was 30 when this came out. Unfortunately, I wish I was in high school. No, I wasn't 30 when this came out, but I was maybe 28 or something like that. In any case, I was old as hell. Yeah, to me, it's obvious. Like, I just, if you think that there is any answer other than Suicide Silence, you're high. I mean, that's just all there is to it. This is my favorite Suicide Silence song, Bludgeoned to Death. But they're all great. Just absolutely savage. Untouched to this day. The best deathcore recording ever done. No question. Now, one thing that I think is interesting is how much the nerds these days love Despised Icon. It's very, very odd, because Despised Icon was not especially popular back then, and all the metal nerds hated them at the time, and now all the metal nerds love Despised Icon. So it's just a very interesting example of how the turntables over the years, 15 years later, they went from despising Despised Icon to jerking off over Despised Icon. I do think Despised Icon is a great band, but Suicide Silence, they have the songs. That's what a lot of these bands are missing. Most deathcore bands are missing the songs, and Suicide Silence has always been very catchy, very accessible, at least as far as this as accessible as this kind of music can be. Also, gotta give a shout out to Alex Lopez on drums, because he has that like punk rock, hardcore kind of groove and sensibility to it. He's not a metal drummer, and I think that's a really big part of what made them sound the way they do. In my opinion, Mitch era Suicide Silence, absolutely untouched. Eddie era is also great. Like, the album they just came out with, I guess it was early this year, is probably the best thing they've done since The Black Crown. So yeah, they're the GOATs. Suicide Silence, the GOATs, no cap. That's all there is to it. You cannot argue with this. Next up, nu metal. It wouldn't be a Finn Mckenty video if I went more than 45 seconds without talking about nu metal. And once again, you might think it's an easy call to say that Korn is the greatest nu metal band of all time, which I would. I am choosing Korn as the best nu metal band. However, it's not as easy as you might think, because Korn has, I wouldn't say, they don't have any bad albums, but they have a fair amount of albums that are mid. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Linkin Park is better. I think that's fair. I don't think I agree, but I don't think that's wrong. I think it's also reasonable to pick Slipknot, although Slipknot has a lot of kind of mid albums also, is the problem. Lots and lots and lots of mid albums. Limp Bizkit, I don't really think you could pick Limp Bizkit, although they do have some great songs. Limp Bizkit has some great singles, but they got a lot of mid stuff. So I don't know. To me, the big six nu metal bands, which would be Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Slipknot, System of a Down, and Deftones, are all pretty damn good. And I think you could reasonably pick any of them. But to me, Korn invented the genre. So to me, I don't know. I just feel like every other band in the genre owes them a debt. So for their influence, this album was just like absolutely nothing else I had ever heard at the time. It came out and it was just like, whoa. I've never heard anything like this. I didn't ever imagine anything like this. Yeah, it was absolutely the Nirvana of nu metal. No question about it. It's like this just made everybody completely rethink what they thought music sounded like. That's how just shocking Korn was when it came out. Nobody had ever heard anything like it before, and they changed the world overnight. So for that reason, I'll say Korn's the best nu metal band. That's what I think. How about everybody's favorite genre, my favorite genre, butt rock? Look at this photograph. Who wants to talk about butt rock? I mean, we got to pick Nickelback as the best butt rock band of all time, right? That seems pretty obvious. Although, I mean, you've watched my my butt rock deep dive, going down the butt rock iceberg. Yeah, we've got Hinder, we've got Buck Cherry, we've got Creed, we've got Puddle of Mud. I mean, any band that wears bootcut Affliction jeans with the leather wrist cuff and the soul patch with at least one wallet chain with some spiky hair, you got to have your guitarist playing a PRS or a Mesa dual rectifier. Your drummer better have a drum rack. Your bassist has got to have some really expensive natural finish wood bass that he plays up high like this. I mean, anything that checks all those boxes, in my opinion, is worthy of your consideration. But I think in hindsight, we got to give it to Nickelback, I think, don't we? Right? We got to give it to them. The kings of butt rock. Creed, yeah, I think Creed is absolutely a valid choice. I agree with that. But, Nickelback's just been going for so long, whereas Creed had a relatively short run. They're really, not short. I guess it was like 10 years. But, Nickelback's been going for almost 30 years now, which is, think about that, people. Nickelback has been a band for almost 30 years. How about that? Finn agonized over choosing the best butt rock band out of... I know, it's hard to choose. Listen, when you're in the same genre as Taproot and Saliva, it's tough. It's like choosing one of my favorite children. How can I choose between Creed, Nickelback, and Saliva? I love you all equally, but if I could only choose one of you to live, if the terrorists came and put a gun to my head and said, only one may live, other two must die, then I would say, well, I'm sorry, Creed. I'm sorry, Saliva. Nickelback, you're the one who will survive the night. That's what I would say. Okay, thrash metal. I have a lot to say about thrash, and I made a whole video about it. Thrash metal, actually, not ironically, one of my favorite genres of metal. There's a ton, absolute fuckload of great thrash bands, most of which are not in the big four. Metallica, mid. Megadeth, below mid. Anthrax is great. But there's lots of other great thrash bands that most of you have never heard of, like Believer, Creator, and Sodom, and Destruction, and The Accused. Tons and tons and tons of great, amazing thrash bands. Oh yeah, Blood Feast was great. If I was to pick one band to represent thrash metal, the GOATs, in my opinion, it would be Slayer. And again, I just think it's kind of a smooth brain take to say anything other than Slayer to me. It's like, okay, Metallica has some good songs, and I get, Dave Mustaine's a good guitarist, but to me, thrash has always been absolutely synonymous with Slayer, to me. Like, if you say Slayer, you say thrash. If you say thrash, you say Slayer. I see no other way around it. The first 10 years or so of their discography are all untouchable. Personally, I'm a big fan of Divine Intervention, which is kind of underrated. God damn, this album is good. This sounds like so punk. There's a song about Rush Limbaugh. But yeah, that's my take. I'm saying Slayer. That's what I think. Now, switching gears a bit, how about indie rock? You guys know I'm not a huge fan of indie rock, as I've said many times, much to the enragement of my audience. People get very angry when I talk shit about indie rock. Kind of interesting. Well, I'll tell you what causes mood swings and irritability? High estrogen. Low testosterone and high estrogen can cause mood swings and irritability. Maybe you guys need to ask your doctor, hey, is testosterone replacement therapy right for me? I got angry at the guy on YouTube when he said he didn't like Mumford & Sons and the Pixies. Should I get on TRT? I started crying when he said that the Pixies were mid. Can you put me on TRT? So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of indie rock in general, but I'll tell you one band that I absolutely fucking love. Death Cab for Cutie. Like, non-ironically, one of the best bands of all time. And I don't care how irritating their fans are. I don't care how many irritating commercials or whatever they've been in. This shit is just untouchable. It's untouchable. That's right. Pump them up with some testosterone, then they're blasting Godsmack. Hell yeah, brother. I do like Vampire Weekend too, actually. I like Vampire Weekend quite a bit. Some incredibly dark lyrics too with Death Cab, to the point where it's actually hard for me to listen to, like, I Will Follow You Into the Dark. Like, I can't even listen to that because it's too brutally dark. But yeah, as far as indie rock goes, that's my pick. Now, how about alternative rock? I feel like this is going to be a controversial one, but I'm picking the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And the reason why is because the Red Hot Chili Peppers are actually the most successful alternative rock band of all time. It's true. They have sold an ungodly amount of albums. They've been basically in the Billboard top 10 for 30 fucking years. 30 years. They've had like 3 eras of being on top of the charts. I don't personally like their newer stuff. And to me, the newer stuff is anything after Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which came out in 1991. So to me, like, anything after that is new Red Hot Chili Peppers, which I don't like. But I recognize, that a lot of people love, Californication and Danny California and all that crap, all their many songs with California in it. And I get it. I do think it's well done. Everybody in this band is an absolute genius other than Anthony Kiedis. Yeah, his vocals are awful. His vocals are terrible. Unbearable. But everyone else in this band is an absolute goddamn motherfucking musical genius. Flea and John and Chad Smith is like, just, you can't fuck with that. You just can't. I like the funk era. Yeah, their first, 4 or 5 albums, everything up to and including that. And just because of their success, like, I don't like their new stuff by any means, but the fact that they're still headlining festivals, like, they're still just like crushing it. There's still plenty of like teenagers that listen to this shit. I think you got to give them a lot of credit for that. Yeah, John Frusciante in Red Hot Chili Peppers is like Michael Jordan on the Washington Generals, god tier talent in a shit band. Yeah, fair enough. But that's my pick. I'm going to go with Red Hot Chili Peppers as the best alternative rock band of all time. Reasonable people can disagree on that one, but that's my pick. Rap rock. Okay, to me, the choice is obvious when it comes to rap rock. It's Rage Against the Machine. It's a horrible genre overall. Just it's a shit tier genre. One of the worst. But when it comes to rap rock, Rage Against the Machine, especially the first album, untouchable. It's amazing that this is 30 years old and doesn't sound dated. At least it doesn't sound dated to me. I mean, obviously, there isn't music like this on the radio now, but it still sounds fresh and great to me. And as irritating as Tom is, his guitar work was absolutely game-changing. Like, nobody thought, guitars could even do that stuff when it came out. And I mean, even to this day, there aren't too many people that can do what Tom Morello does, even if he is one of the most irritating humans on the face of the planet. Also, I want to take a moment to be a certified elitist here. A lot of people are impressed by the fact that Tom Morello went to Harvard and that he has a political science degree from Harvard. Number one, he doesn't have a political science degree. He has a degree in social sciences. He dropped out of political science because it was too hard. This is a fact. Number 2, it's an undergrad degree. I know a lot of people with undergrad degrees. I used to work with dozens of people with undergrad degrees from Harvard. I'm not fucking impressed. Only by music standards would an undergrad degree in social sciences be impressive. You want to impress me? You get like my wife. She used to work for Amazon Web Services. She worked with a bunch of people who had like dual masters in like electrical engineering and computer science. Okay, that's impressive. You have like an EECS double masters from MIT. That's gonna impress me. So yeah, I'm an education snob. Not impressed by Tom Morello's education, but what I am impressed with is this album and this band. When it comes to rap rock, they're the GOAT. Okay, now last and definitely least is power metal, a genre that I've clowned on many times and I will continue to clown on because power metal is, it's bad. Power metal is worse than not good. It's awful. One of the absolute worst genres. Power metal is so bad, it makes ska seem dignified. That's how bad it is. But I'll tell you, there is one power metal band that is amazing and great. And I'm going to show you what they look like before we listen to their music because it's very important that you understand who we're about to be talking about. This is what Manowar looks like, okay, guys? Leather loincloths, boots with the fur. They look like they're fucking Conan the Barbarian, singing about fucking swords and kings and stuff. The level of drip is just, it's off the charts. You can't beat it. Now, what does their music sound like? You must be wondering. They're not true power metal? Yeah, there's people that would say that. I will say, if the guy in the fucking fur thong holding a sword, writing a song about being the fucking king of metal, if that's not power metal, I don't know what the fuck is. Now, listen to this song. This song is legitimately a fucking banger. And I love it when a band writes a song that's called the name of the band. So this is the song Manowar by the band Manowar. In my opinion, it's a fucking banger. I love this. Makes me feel like I'm riding on a fucking griffin, doesn't it? Don't you feel like you're riding into battle on a goddamn griffin, holding a battle axe in your hand, about to fucking open a chest full of loot?
We met on English ground in a backstage room. We heard the sound and we all knew. We called the high command.
We called the high command.
Make a stand and Manowar. Born to live forevermore. The right to conquer every star.
Here's the thing, though, people. It's right. I feel like this genre can retroactively turn people into virgins. It's true. So let's say you have kids. Let's say you have some kids, high school age kids, and you're worried because you just found out that your son or daughter has been engaged in premarital sex. And you're like, oh no, he or she is ruined. No man or woman of value will ever want to be with my son or daughter. Well, don't worry. Don't worry. All you need to do is just play them some Manowar, and then their virginity, in less than 90 seconds, their virginity will return, and you will have the purity of your son or daughter back, and your worries will be gone. So that's why you need a little bit of power metal in your life, people. Okay, that does it for this edition of the best bands in every single subgenre of rock and roll. Jump in the comments and tell me why I'm wrong about absolutely everything, and I will be back next time. I started crying when he said that the Pixies were mid. Can you put me on TRT?